Here's the introduction to our final technology project, predicting heart attacks. You'll be using data to make predictions using statistics, our inferential statistics that we've learned the second half of the course. So this is what it looks like. What you're going to see here is this video. There'll be a link here to this video. And then you'll see a description of the variables, all the variables for the data that we will have for you to use to ask questions and answer questions that you create. And so there's a long list of data. You'll see the list here, the variable name and a description of what that variable is. Here's what the data looks like. So you'll see some form of the data look like this. We have data for 211 patients and various information for each of those patients. And so you will see that. Part one is to answer these questions. That's it. Use the information here given to answer these questions about the observational units, the population of interest, and so forth. And so that's part one. Part two is you forming questions. You will use the variables from this data set right here. So let me go a little slower. This data set here, right? This one here, right? You will be using those variables to come up with questions, research questions. Here is some example of research questions that are not from this data set, but you're required to come up with a research question for these procedures: proportion test, two-sample t-test, chi-square test of independence, ANOVA, linear regression. So that's part two. You come up with a research question. What are the variables that are related to that research question, and a null and alternative hypothesis for your question. So keep that in mind. Again, here is some samples to use to guide you, but you will use the variables from the data set. Part three are the applications. You'll see application 1, 2, and 3. Application 1 is to answer this question here following the 4-step process. So you're answering that specific question. Option 2, you will answer this question. Again, you're choosing one option from application 1. You choose your choice. For application 2, you have a your choice again, option 1 and option 2. There's specific questions here that you are going to answer using the data set. Application 3, you pick one of the methods and you come up with a question. Right, what are the variables? There we go. And then here you're not running a test, right, as it says, without doing it. You're creating a graphical summary to summarize the relationship. So again, we're not actually doing the test. You're just practicing coming up with data from we're asking a question and then using data to create a graphical representation to help you answer the question. Again, not running a test. And then you try to answer the question just from the data. You could always run the test to see if your answers, where your answer should be, but again, you're not running a test. And then part 4 is the reflect on statistical practices. Here you select one of these applications, 1 or 2, to then answer these questions here. And you're just answering the questions as stated here, as asked, and then use either app 1 or app 2, the question from one of those apps from part 3. Pause. Again, you may have a question. Think about that. Okay. And then the extra credit part, up to 10 points extra credit, is to use this data set and your reasoning, as it says here, to decide if these patients here are high risk for heart attacks or not, based off of your analysis that you've done. And that's our project. Now, before I finish, sorry about that. I'll have a link here to explain how to kind of manage some of the data. There'll be a link here. I'll do that in a separate video.